Well, we're only a month into the season. It's a little too early to tell, but if he plays the same way he played against Baltimore and Tampa Bay, yeah, you change him. But you swap him out for Bailey. But then again, it's too early to tell, and well, he could get better as the season goes along.
Well, how long do we give him? Because he pitched well in a couple games and then badly in a couple games, but as you saw in those highlights against when he was on Pittsburgh, he was an all-star closer. Do you give him 3 more chances, 4 more? Do you give him another month? How long until you decide, okay, no more blown saves, we've got to switch to Andrew Bailey, who's the original closer you brought in here 2 years ago to be your actual closer?
I'd give him 4 or 5 more weeks at least.
Yeah, unless he's if he's blowing saves every game, then you have to change him. But 4 or 5 weeks, I agree with you. If he's coming in, getting some saves, mostly saving them for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Unless he's absolutely a disaster, yeah, you give him 4 or 5 more weeks, and then after 4 or 5 more weeks, if he's blown a save once every few times, then I think you gotta change him. But if it's just a slow start, but he's gonna come out strong next 4 or 5 weeks, then you definitely keep him after that time.
What are the chances that if he's not doing very well in the closer position, they bring him back into a different position, the 7th or 8th inning guy, and put Bailey as the closer? I've seen some people who are fine switching from any position in the bullpen, and other people who need to be closers, and if they're not, it throws off their whole game.
Well, I think moving him to the 7th or 8th inning guy is a great idea because he's clearly, as we saw in the Baltimore and Tampa Bay game, that he's not doing his job at the closer position.
Yeah, I think if you move him in the 7th and 8th inning, yeah, at the end of the day, he's still pitching, and I think he definitely could come in that time, just get solid in. Plus, it might be a little less pressure in the 7th or 8th inning because it's not the 9th inning where it's a big.
The game's not on the line.
Yeah, exactly. So just that fact, the game's not on the line means you could just come up in a couple solid innings and get guys out, and then someone else comes in the 9th inning.
And although he's been a problem so far, the Red Sox have jumped out off to a great start this year. Many people believe they weren't going to be a good team, especially coming off the disaster of last year. Some people thought the only way they could go was up. They really have been a solid team this year, so far this April. But is this what we can expect for the rest of the year, or should we really wait for them to level off and go back to 80, 85 win territory?
Well, we should really wait until the season gets really underway. Maybe in June. We gotta check them out in June because they, as Max said, they're probably gonna even out as the season goes along here.
Yeah, you really can't make a prediction at this time of the year because it's not. They've only played a few games. They're in first place right now, but that doesn't mean anything in June. Right now doesn't mean anything in June. But yeah, once they say once you're in June, you're in first place, then you're for real a legitimate team. But right now you can't consider them. And also the Red Sox, so 80 to 85 wins, that's an improvement. But to be honest, that really shouldn't be their goal. Their goal should be to make the playoffs.
And as we've seen so far, we have the emergence of a couple of younger players. We have Jackie Bradley Jr., Daniel Nava, who have come in and have helped out the team in different ways. How much will the Red Sox have to rely on these younger players this season, especially with players like David Ortiz and Stephen Drew have been hurt for portions of the season?
Yeah, I definitely think you have to rely on these young players. Plus, there's guys like Will Middlebrooks, coming in, and Jack Bradley. So yeah, if you rely on these young players, they can step up. They learn and then start to step up. And then yeah, you could definitely rely on these young players. If the young players don't step up, then they're not going to be a very good team this year.
So moving on to a different topic around New England, in 11 days the NFL draft happens. The Patriots are a team with many holes, most specifically at wide receiver and in the defensive back, cornerback area. Now they could maybe fix the wide receiver problem signing Emmanuel Sanders. We don't know if that's actually happened yet because Pittsburgh still has a chance to match the offer sheet the Patriots signed him to. If the Patriots do get him, they will lose a 3rd-round pick, but they will have secured one of the better wide receivers who will be added to their core of Donald Jones, Danny Amendola, Michael Jenkins, along with their 2 tight ends, which formulates to be a pretty good receiving core, but they might still want another deep threat in the draft. Now, on the defensive end, they could bring in a cornerback because, Kyle Arrington, Aqib Talib, and Alfonso Denard are all solid players, but as we saw last year, one player gets hurt, specifically Aqib Talib in the AFC Championship game. They're kind of screwed. What do you see the Patriots doing as the draft comes around?
I'm seeing them drafting a cornerback, as you said, when Aqib Talib went down. His absence was just very noticeable.
Yeah, it was quite. He was just they just got him in the middle of the year, and he came in absolutely did a great job, you know. So I definitely think, yeah, if you get another guy that can come in, you know, possibly Jonathan Banks, whatever, it's Jonathan, I think, yeah. So I think he could definitely be a guy you look at. So they get like a late first-round pick. So yeah, I think you do have options. You know, it might not be a star guy, but I think you definitely get a guy that could step in and definitely become a guy that could be like solid, you know, and maybe get like a few interceptions, you know, at least cover the guy. And wide receivers, yeah, just getting a deep threat, just a guy with speed, you know, that would be great for them too. I mean, the tight ends are better than the wide receivers, you know, for Patriots. So what about you, Tom? Do you have any?
Well, I think adding depth at the cornerback position will be the best move for the Patriots.
What about getting like a 5th or 7th round pick, just getting another guy in cornerback position, just having a little more?
Just adding to your depth. It can't hurt to add to your depth.
Yeah.
Well, some players that have been mentioned in the draft for the cornerback position. You mentioned Jonathan Banks out of Mississippi State. Jonathan, there's no A in there. Jonathan. We also have Jamar Taylor out of Boise State, who made some huge plays last year for his team. Everyone's been talking about Desmond Trufant out of Washington. It'll be interesting to see if the Patriots don't decide to take a cornerback in the first round and they use that pick on a wide receiver. Is that smart to take someone who can get down the field and really help out Tom Brady as Randy Moss did in 2007? Or should the Patriots really focus on their key need, which is defense?
I think defense you definitely have to focus on. You know, despite them maybe having some struggles at wide receivers, the Patriots offense still always able to click. You know, they got tight ends, so I don't think wide receiver is that important. No matter what their wide receivers are, you know, maybe they're not great, but their offense was still very good last year with tight ends, you know, and defense. If you can get the defense set, the offense is good enough that if the defense plays well, then the Patriots will win.
Their offense was not the problem. Their offense was one of the best in
the
National Football
League.
So their problem was their defense. On 3rd and long, it was just atrocious. They need more defense. Defense wins championships.
Exactly.
Well, everyone has talked about how bad the cornerback play was until they got Aqib Talib and in the secondary. But one of the contributions to a bad secondary is a not so great pass rush. Now, they had Chandler Jones, who was good last year. They obviously have Vince Wilfork, the key to the defense there. But should the Patriots maybe consider taking a pass rusher in the first round to really help out their defense on the line, specifically someone like Marcus Hunt out of SMU?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you definitely could get more pressure on the quarterback, but they got some guys up front, so I think the cornerback would honestly be better. You know, if your guys can cover downfield, that would be better. They still do have some guys like Vince Wilfork, you know, and Chandler Jones. So I do think that there definitely is better to address their pass rush is stronger. They do have more talent in their defensive front than their secondary.
Well, I think the cornerback will be the best option for the New England Patriots, but you know, getting a pass rusher also, or instead, would not hurt them.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
So moving on to our final topic of the day, we've got the Boston Celtics. Now, they are looking not very strong right now. They're on and off every single game. But hopefully what they're doing is resting up for the playoffs, which start in a few days. It looks like the Celtics, as the seventh seed, will be taking on the New York Knicks in the first round, a team who they have struggled against this year, but in the past have been a very solid team. If the Celtics do get matched up against the Knicks, what do you see happening?
I see the Knicks winning in 7 games, and here's why. Simply because of the Celtics' deplorable road record of 14-26.
Yeah, 7 games, quite a prediction,
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I know, 7 games, so it tells me they're at least going to be competitive anyway. I think the Celtics definitely do have like some guys that can step up. You know, Jeff Green's been doing a really good job recently, so I do think the Celtics, out of all the low seeds, Celtics definitely have the most talent they're definitely the most competitive out of all like the teams, you know. Because they can definitely play, you know, they can compete, you know, they're definitely going to be competitive. They're not going to be, I don't think they'll win, but they'll definitely no matter who they play in the playoffs.
Yeah,
exactly. I feel like the Celtics last year, and the last few years in the playoffs, once they get in the playoffs, they definitely are very tough. Last year, the Celtics were a 5 seed and then played very well in the playoffs.
Well, they're a 7 seed this year, a little bit different.
I know, but still, they're definitely going to be very competitive. I see the Knicks winning, but I see the Knicks winning in a 6.
6?
Yeah.
Well,
I think the Knicks carry the 3-2 lead into Boston. I think Boston defends their home turf.
Well, last year, nobody predicted the Celtics to go very far. They saw, a mediocre team going into the playoffs, and then the Celtics surprised everyone, really using their playoff and veteran mojo to take themselves to the Eastern Conference Finals, where, unfortunately, Avery Bradley got hurt, and they ended up losing to the Miami Heat in 7 games. People can make the argument whether they would or wouldn't have won that series if Avery Bradley didn't get hurt. But I feel like something similar could happen this year. Obviously, they've got injuries, but when they've been healthy, besides Rajon Rondo, who we know is out for the season, they've been a pretty good team. So if they play the Knicks, a team who, over the past few years, they've had success against, dating back most recently to last season, when they easily beat them in the first round of the playoffs.
That was 2 years ago.
I think they can easily advance past the Knicks. Not easily, but I don't think it will be, this blowout that the Knicks are going to pull or this 7-game series as people are expecting. I think the Celtics could take care of the Knicks with the players they've had.
I know, the Knicks.
Well, the thing that scares me is the Celtics' terrible road record. That's just scary.
Yeah, I know, but they only need to win one on their own. If they protect their home turf, then Anyway, the Celtics, the thing is about the Eastern Conference, there's no team in the Eastern Conference that's exactly dominant except for the Miami Heat, So I feel like all the teams are very winnable, and I feel like it's up for grabs for any team to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, except for the Heat. Any of the teams really I feel like could make it. Besides the Heat, I don't see the Heat losing I see the Heat definitely making the NBA Finals. But
if the Celtics end up matched up against the Heat, a team that they have played pretty evenly matched this whole season, what are the chances that the Celtics either beat them or at least give them a pretty good run compared to what most Eastern Conference teams would?
Well, I think it will be a series kind of like last year where it goes 7 games. I think the Celtics do give the Miami Heat a run for their money, but of course, the Heat having better depth, I think the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I know. At the end of the day, when you're playing 7 games and against guys that can just take over the game, it's going to be very hard. But yes, Celtics, I definitely think are going to be competitive. So Max, do you really think the Celtics will beat the Knicks?
In my opinion, I think if they play the Knicks, which it looks like is what's going to happen, I think they will definitely win because the Celtics have just had this core group of veterans. Obviously, they lost Ray Allen, but they still have Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce there. Jeff Green has emerged. Jason Terry has emerged. They're going to get into the playoffs and have new life to them, be so hungry. And the Knicks have been a great team, but they don't know how to win in the playoffs. Carmelo Anthony's never done it. Amari Stoudemire's never done it. So it's going to be experience versus some newcomers, and I think experience wins in that situation.
Yeah, it's just when you're looking at out of all the 7 against 2 matchups, it's like probably a more even 7-2 matchup than it normally would be, In the Western Conference, I don't see that happening, but the Eastern Conference definitely be a competitive series. But Carmelo Anthony, it depends how greedy he plays. If he's just shooting, taking on these jump shots and he's missing them, then Celtics definitely could win. But I just think the Celtics, they could. I just think Carmelo Anthony's definitely a much improved player this year, so I think the Knicks will beat the Celtics, but it's going to be tough.
Well, I think it really comes down to if we think the Celtics are the same team that we've seen be a great team early in the season, or if we think they're the mediocre team that has played recently. Can they beat the Knicks? Can they beat the Heat? We'll have to see. That's all the time we have for this edition of K-Sports Sunday. For everyone who's been on and for everyone who's been back in the studio helping make this show happen, I'm Max Kleiman. Thanks for watching. Thank you.